Hello, it's Rick with Musicians Edition, and we are ready for page 34 in the Tenor Saxophone book today. So, on page 34, no new ideas, terms, or new notes. So, lots of good music. Let's get to it. The first one is Ricochet Rock. There are two lines of music. The top line is all of the tenor saxophone music. The bottom line is optional clapping that you can add, just rhythms shown there. So let's start with the tenor saxophone music. As always, check your key signature. There are some accidentals. Remember, an accidental is a sharp, flat, or natural given within a piece of music that change the notes for that measure. And so there are some in there. There are two pickup notes in this one. They are on beat 4, 2 8 notes on beat 4, so the count off would be 1, 2, 3. And here we go. 1, 2, 3. All right, there's a fermata on the last note, so I held that a little bit longer than one beat. Now I will do the clapping. Just to review, I think we've seen this in the book before, but the little X's are just showing rhythms, and so look at the stems. They will show you whether you have a quarter note, an eighth note. There's a dotted quarter in there too, but we're just looking at rhythms, not at notes at all. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. So for you, what I would suggest is learn the saxophone music, record yourself, and then clap along. You'll have a nice duet. All right, the next one is called Loch Lomond. It's a old Scottish folk song. It's a melody you might recognize. It is pretty well known. Always check your key signature. B flat this time. And we also have a pickup note in this one, starting on beat 4. 1, 2, 3. I hope that sounds familiar to you. There is a fermata on beat 3 on the bottom line there, so I held that just a little bit longer, and then I gave a little cue when I was going to go on. So when you're playing along, you can look for those things.
This lesson is brought to you by the Musicians Edition practice book. Make goals and keep track of progress throughout the whole year. When you're done with this video lesson, don't forget to mark this practice time in your Musicians Edition practice book. Now back to the video.
All right, next one is Shalom Chaverim. I don't know how to pronounce that second word, but this is also one that you might recognize. It's a pretty well-known melody. We once again have a pickup note on beat 4, and that is the A. Check the key signature once again. And we'll slow down just a little bit more. Because this one's marked andante, which is a little slower than moderata. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. All right. It says draw in a breath mark at the end of each phrase. So remember, a phrase is a group of notes or a section of the music that kind of goes together. It's sort of a complete thought. And then when that phrase ends, a new phrase begins. So usually, or often I should say, phrases are two measures or 4 measures. They can be longer depending on the tempo and how many notes there are and things like that. But a lot of it is just looking at the music or listening to the music and kind of hearing where a complete thought begins and ends. And in this one, I think that the phrase is 4 measures long. And so the first phrase ends at the end of the first line after the dotted half note A. So if you can see my book here, this is where I would say the phrase begins or ends and begins. So the breath mark can go right after the dotted half note. A good spot for a breath mark, remember, is after a long note, because there is a little bit more of an opportunity to get a breath when there is a longer note. And then the next phrase, I believe, goes until right here. First ending after, again, the dotted half note. So the breath mark can go right before the quarter note. And then we have breath marks showing the beginnings and the endings of phrases. Next we have number 150, which has 4 measures of music, and then you are to finish the composition by writing in notes. So you can really write those notes in any way you want to. You can either write notes and then play it and see if you like it, go back and change things, or you can play something that you like and then write it down after you have decided what you like. Either way can work. It just depends on what you want to do. Just a couple of ideas, and I did write in some notes for myself, and I'll play that for you in a minute. But one thing that's kind of important is what note you end on. A lot of times the first note and the last note will be the same. They start, and we're not going to get into a discussion about keys right now, but this one starts on the note C, and so I decided to end it on C, and I think it sounds like it ends on that note. Some notes that you end on might sound like that's not a good spot to end. It doesn't sound like it ended there. So here we start, and I ended on the note C. Make sure that every measure's got 4 beats. You can put rests in if you want to. You can put any kind of rhythm in that you would like to. I decided to start my first measure that I wrote the same as the first measure, just the first 3 notes. To me, that gives it a little bit of unity makes it sound like it's part of the first song. You will notice there's a breath mark here, and that's where the second phrase begins. So we do have a first phrase that goes until the breath mark, which is 4 measures long or just short of 4 measures. And then the rest is another phrase. So what I wrote was a phrase. So let me play for you what I wrote, and hopefully you will write something completely different, because that's perfectly okay. And I'm going to slow that down just a little bit more. And a little bit more than that. There we go. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4. Feel free to write in your own melody and rhythms. And then we have a 4 tenor saxophones only. A reminder, it does tell you to use the alternate C fingering. Remember, this is used when you're going back and forth between B and C to eliminate having to do this with your first 2 fingers. So you keep the B key down, first finger, and you press the middle key of the right hand with this part of your finger. Not bringing your finger back, but just keeping your hand in position and leaning this part of your finger down on that middle key, and that will give you a C. And I'm going to slow down the tempo on this because it has a lot of 8th notes. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. Good luck with page 34, and I will see you next time.